Listeners be advised. The Soliloquy podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slater Jackson, and for you freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Adams. On today's episode, we are talking about being authentically you. And if you have not realized this, we're in Heauxvember, and this is the 8th motherfucking episode of the month. Oh my God, you should be excited. So I'm not going to explain exactly what Heauxvember is. If you do not know at this point, go back to the first episode of this month. It aired on November 1st. And guess what? The fun thing about it, those same people from that first episode, they are here. So we have Melissa and Nini. How are y'all doing?
Hey.
Thanks for having us again.
I know. I'm excited.
Of course.
Excited to be back.
And the great thing is that, like, y'all don't have to introduce yourselves this time. So we can really just go straight into the conversation. But for those people who don't know you, again, go back to that episode. It was great. It was a wonderful conversation. And it was beautiful. I've learned some things. Melissa learned some things. Nini learned some things. We all learned on that episode.
Yes.
Community learning. Look at God.
Period. Why would you do it?
Right. So, just to let y'all know who are listening out there, I will be drinking during this episode because it's Heauxvember. It's a time of celebration, and a motherfucker's going to get lit because why not? Do not drink and drive, people. We do things responsibly around here, and that also includes other intoxicants like marijuana and all those other stuff. Even if you out here getting high on motherfucking Benadryl, still don't drive, motherfuckers. Relax, enjoy it. So,
Not the Benadryl.
Gotta cover everything because motherfuckers be motherfuckering and motherfuckering too hard. So
right, no, but for real though.
Y'all not gonna be like, look, I was listening to a podcast. It was called the whole something like that podcast, and the host said I should get lit. I didn't say you need to go drive. I said not a damn. The disclaimer was there.
The episode. Remember what I said.
I said act right, okay? But in this episode, we will be talking about being the authentically you. So, to start off, Melissa, if you don't mind, what does being intentional mean for yourself?
What does being intentional? I feel like being intentional is doing it out of your own self, right? Like you're not doing it for anybody else but yourself. Mm-hmm. You've thought it through. There's no like influence necessarily. And yeah, what does being intentional? I had to think about that for a while because I was like, what does it mean to be intentional? Such a hard question. Such a philosophical question.
It is. It really is. You know, on this podcast, that's some questions are hard to answer. And I know we got stumped on a couple last episodes. So, and I still get stumped on some things to this day. What about you, Nini? What does being intentional mean to you?
See, it's hard, isn't it?
Right. I was really thinking about it too. I was like, I really think it just means like being proactive with yourself. Making sure you do things for the right reasons, for your own right reasonings. Like, you know, sometimes it may not make sense to other people, but, you know, if you do it with good intentions, or if you're doing it, you know, being yourself, I think that that's what it ultimately means to me.
Like, for me, it's hard to define being intentional without using the word intent. And even on that, it's like, what does intent mean? Like, the intent behind this action, yeah, we have a dictionary version of what that means, but at the same time, the dictionary don't put the word in action.
Right.
Like, intent in itself has force behind it. It has motion behind it. And to act in that motion for yourself and moving forward in a guided or goal-oriented way, like, I think that will be the best way to define it. Being intentional is that you're setting a pace, you're setting a goal, and you're achieving that. But in being intentional, in terms of like with other people, like, I think about whenever I'm looking to date somebody, the intent is to find someone that's a long-term partner. So in order for me to do that, I have to have that conversation with them up front about, okay, this is what I'm looking for here. And if they agree upon that, that means to me that we're moving in the same path. And that, once that agreement is made, is when it becomes intentional. Otherwise, it's just something that's up in space, something that's up in the air, and it's not anything that's really going to change. So yeah, I think that's the best way I can define it.
I guess you could say, like, knowing your why. Like, why are you doing this? And doing it because you know why. You know, figuring out why you want to do it, why this is your goal, your objective, and then acting upon it.
I like that. So
I agree.
Well, since we're talking about whys now, this is not really a part of the episode, but what is your why? If you were to define your purpose for today, not your life's purpose, because come on, that's hard to define, and that shit shifts as you go along. Because at one point in my life, my life's purpose was to be a chef, and I don't cook for anybody and rarely cook for myself, so it's not that. But what is your current why? What is your current purpose as at this moment in this stage in your life?
I think, like, at this stage in my life, I'm starting to be more authentic now. Like, I feel like you become more as authentic as you get older, because you're starting to realize who you are, and you learn more about who you are, and you know, scientifically your brain is fully developed, right? At 25 or whatever it is. But my why is just like sticking with the authenticity, because, you know, like, I guess going back to the why, you know, like, I was talking to a friend about, you know, why do I do this thing? Like, do I do it because of past trauma? Do I do it to please other people? Am I really doing it for myself, or is it for someone else, or is it like reacting to something and it's not really for my own good intentions, or like for myself? So I think that would be my biggest why, is like still keeping that authenticity and asking myself, do I really want to do this, or is it because of these outside factors are telling me to do it? And then sticking to that, because I feel like I don't know, I feel like you guys are like this, but I still sometimes have like my mom or my dad in my head when I'm making a choice. You know, they're like always there, like, are you sure you want to do that? Is that the right thing to do? I'm just like, go away. I'm 31 years old. Get away.
I get that.
Yeah, I definitely understand. I think my why and my purpose right now is just to teach and learn. I'm all about enlightenment, you know, figuring things out, and like Melissa said, like, just really trying to stay authentically me while learning like, okay, this lesson is for me, or this lesson is necessarily not for me. so I don't have to change it. Like really discerning what to take in and what not to take in, and being an example. Especially for, you know, my daughter and just other people around me, because I think in the past couple of years people have told me that they've learned a lot from me. So now it's just, you know, learning from them, as well as, you know, continuing to teach them, and, you know, still learning and discerning what I need to grow and, you know, what I can keep.
I'll say for myself, my current why is to further understand myself and to really get back into that version of myself that allowed a lot more playfulness, that allowed a lot more emotion and feeling in the things that he did, and reconnecting with him, and allowing other people to take part in that journey too, because a lot of the things that I'm currently doing is really out of selfishness and making sure that I'm honoring myself and taking ownership of the past that I allowed me to lose myself in helping others, and healing from that, accepting that that was a phase in my life and it doesn't have to be my entire life, and recreating exactly who I am when I can serve other people while also serving myself. So I would say that would be my main why of why I do a lot of the things I do, be it even the podcast, my constant seek of new knowledge, the new thing that I've been doing on Instagram, just educating people about accessing therapy services, and just having those conversations in Black spaces, to truly normalize that for some of my family members who refuse to accept that they need therapy, as well as for those individuals who may come across my page and just learn something from it. So it's a way for me to still serve others while at the end of it, intentionally serving myself. So that will be my current why and purpose. Yeah. And something came up within this conversation I wanted to ask both of you is it easier to not be your authentic self versus just being whoever other people want you to be, or assimilating into the popular narrative, like just going along with the crowd? Which one's easier for you?
I feel like it's exhausting pretending, right? Especially depending on the crowd you're trying to like be fake around, you know. Like if you don't believe in their same values, if you don't agree with anything that they agree, like it's just exhausting because you're constantly thinking and constantly trying to make sure that you conform, and like there's no freedom of speech in that, you know, in that zone or that area. And I think that's why I kind of sometimes being around certain people in my family can be just so exhausting, because I gotta be like the good Christian girl or something, or like the good, or like don't say, you know, anything accidentally, and you're constantly like thinking about it. But if you can be around like people like my husband, for example, my best friends, where you can just be yourself, then it's just worry free. You get to just speak freely and do and be whoever you want, or who you truly are.
Right. She definitely hit it on the head. Like she definitely said everything. I've been on both spectrums. I'm currently on my own, you know, kind of like fuck you era, I don't give a fuck.
Yes.
Era, you know.
Welcome.
And it's hard, like not saying fuck you, that part is getting easier, but like it's hard. It's hard pretending to be somebody that you're not, because now you have to keep up that persona, and I found that it wears down on you in the long run, because now you're battling with yourself of, all right, this is what I really believe, but this is what I told everybody I believe to fit in. So now you're having to undo, and now you're losing those friendships and stuff like that. So had I just, been me from the get-go, like, I feel like I probably wouldn't have been going through that. So it's a whole lot easier just to, be you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think I think there's like that level of fear that many people have to approach when it comes to starting their journey of being authentically them, that truly does make it hard, because it's like, I will have to build all these new relationships again, because I finally found a community, though I'm operating in a fake identity to access this community and access this space with these people and these bonds that I've formed with them. So there's a protection that's simple, it's easy, you know who you have to be. And I feel as though many people fear having to confront who they are authentically, because now they have to learn a new self, a new sense of self. And that's a scary process. That's a lot of work in just knowing that, some of these relationships will be torn apart, or knowing that I may not be able to operate in certain spaces the same way because of this, that I might want to sacrifice being my full authentic self just in order to secure these spaces, to secure these friendships. And personally, I feel like that's unfair to that individual. But I think that's a reason why so many people fail to embrace their authentic self. And I even know from my own personal experiences, like many of my friends to this day still think that I enjoy drinking. Yeah, I will have drinks because I'm drinking right now, but I don't like to get drunk. I don't like to be in a space where I don't know what's going on around me. And it's not necessarily a lack of control that is an issue, because look, I'm okay being a sub for somebody. I'm okay with being a dom for somebody. I'm okay with switching up the roles with people, but it's about having that full autonomy of the spaces that I'm in. Yes, I can get drunk around certain people. I can get drunk and have fun these other spaces, but that's not who I'm all about. That was a younger version of myself wanting to fit in college and drinking with everybody, and already knowing I have a high tolerance because of the shit my family is going through, because alcoholics on alcoholics over decades. So I know I have a high tolerance, but at the end of the day, I don't want to always be the drunkard. I don't always want to be the life of the party, the person that will always get you drunk. Yes, am I that person on some level? Hell the fuck yes, because I can make a mean motherfucking drink. But,
period.
But
we partied together sometimes. I remember.
Oh, you know. But at the end of the day, that's not truly all of me. Like, that's we're here for the party, but after that party, you're gonna have another different burning. And if you're not ready to accept that burning, then I'm sorry, there's a space for you. But you're not going to operate in all spaces of my life because of that. And that's not me necessarily wanting to end our friendship or say that I'm better than you. No, it's just that we know what our relationship is at that point. And I think many people, when it comes to engaging who their authentic self is, they have to have those real conversations, like, who am I? What do I want to tolerate with other people? And what am I, as my authentic self, willing to accept from other people?
Beautiful.
So how does a person, like, even for yourself on your own journey of finding your authentic self or becoming more of you over the years, how did you build your authenticity? Or do you have any tips that somebody might can take away from your journey? Either one of you.
I think it gets easier with age, for sure. Because I remember, like, in high school and college, I was so concerned about, like, having a bunch of friends, being invited to parties, getting to go out, do things, you know. But like as I get older, I mean, one, not only am I tired, and like
And an
can't
introvert.
drink like I used to. Yeah. It's just like, I think it goes back to, you know, when you were asking if it's tiring to be authentic or not be, or to be or not be. And it does get tiring to like constantly get that or want that reassurance from people or get that affirmation from people and, you know, seeking out for it. So I think what helped build my authenticity is just not caring so much about others, not caring so much about like the value I place on people liking me, you know, like not basing my value on, you know, the number of friends that I have, the number of likes that I get on like social media, or the number of interactions I get, or anything like that, and just doing things because I like to do it and being around people who are okay with that. You know, I think overall, the less you care, I guess, about other people and more you care about yourself, I think you'll just naturally become more authentic.
Yeah.
What about those relationships that you lose in that process?
Sucks for them. No,
honestly,
The real talk.
But for real, it's kind of like, you know, it does suck. I've currently and recently kind of gone through situations like that where, you know, I started to discover like who I am. And, you know, coming back from my hermit phase and everything like that. And I had some friends who just didn't get it. And it wasn't me just like, initially it's not me distancing myself. It was just me, you know, trying to figure out who I am and where I want to go and stuff like that. And realizing that, okay, I am a people pleaser and this is not getting me anywhere but hurt internally. So it's like I had to step back in order to undo some of those patterns to prep myself to go back into society. So, you know, some friends didn't understand, like, you know, I had people pleasing patterns and stuff like that. And now I'm setting my boundaries and I see that it's making you mad. So were you never really my friend, or were you there just to take advantage of me and what I was offering you?
Somebody just
so
got in face.
So, you know, it really is like a, you know, I feel like if you're my friend and if you were genuinely my friend, you would accept the changes that I go through. And if you don't understand them, like, you know, I've opened the floor for you to have that conversation with me. And especially if I'm opening the floor for you to have that conversation and letting you know, like, hey, like, I don't want to lose a friendship over this, and we can really talk about it so I can understand where you're coming from and you can understand where I'm coming from. And if you're not taking that opportunity, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, I can only be the bigger person so much. So if you want to dismiss yourself, like, for my sanity, it hurts me. It hurts like hell, but you're not aligned with what I want as a friend and who I would want to consider like a friend, a family member and stuff like that. So, you know, deuces, I'll see you next lifetime. Maybe we'll get it together then, but just not this time.
Right. Well,
absolutely.
We'll come back to that soul contract when we get to it.
Right. Universe, just run that one back because that lesson was not learned this time. Run it back next time.
Yeah.
No, like that. What were you saying, Melissa? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, that's kind of the sad part, and like maybe the cons of trying to be more authentically you. But I think the positive is that, like, yeah, your friend group is gonna shrink, because mine definitely shrank, really tiny. But the end product is like the best people ever. Like some of my favorite people, like they are who are part of my life and who I consider as family. So yeah, it sucks. You're gonna lose some friends, you're gonna lose some family members, but you're gonna end up with, like, you know, your true friends and true, family.
Amen to that. Like, something that really stood out to me that you mentioned, Nene, was the hermit phase. And people, that needs to be talked about a lot more, honestly, because like everybody out here wants to, and I know what the purpose of this podcast, I get it. Everybody out here wants to live their whole phase, but nobody trying to live that hermit phase. And you don't understand how great that hermit phase can be.
Whew.
Oh
it
my
really
God.
is.
Like, when
A blessing and a curse.
Facts. I may on some level still be within my hermit. Actually, I know I'm still in my hermit phase because I'm still not trying to be outside, bother with people. So like, but the hermit stage as well with the whole phase, people, so don't get all in my back on that. Though there's growth that can be had in all of those. There's experiences that you can have in all of those, but the hermit phase really does give you that opportunity to recognize what is for me and what is not for me, what people are here to serve and make me better, and those that are here to drain me. Like you mentioned, when you start setting boundaries and people get upset, that's not on me. Like, why is it that you're upset when I told you don't have the same access that you used to have? At the end of the day, you still have access. If I gave you a well full of water and I say, hey, I can't give you water on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you still have access to the water throughout the week. If you don't get enough of the water to fill you up for Wednesdays and Thursdays, I forgot which days I used, I'm sorry. But we're going on Wednesdays and Thursdays now. If you did not get enough water to make sure that you will be satiated on Wednesday and Thursday, that is your problem, not mine. Like, you have to respect the fact that, hey, you just can't be here Wednesdays and Thursdays. Right. And that is okay. If that's an issue for you, that you feel as though you need access to me 24/7, we got a fucking problem. And I hate that is the cause of like the dissolution of friendships, but that helps you recognize that maybe this is somebody who was literally only here to drain my well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So, that's something lifted.
I feel like there's certain people we're probably thinking of that like comes to mind. I'm like,
listen, we're thinking the whole time. In the back of my head, I'm like, this bitch.
There's a few. I'm like, sucks for y'all. I'm doing great. I hope you're doing good.
Right.
I sip my drink. So a part of being authentically you, and this can be something that can be phrased sexually, it could just be something that's like work related, and that's just following your pleasure. What does that mean to you in terms of following your pleasure? And because this is a sex podcast, what does that mean sexually too, as it relates to being authentically you?
I think honestly, it's just being open with your partner and letting them know, like, I have certain kinks that Brendan may not have, or that he may not have explored until he got with me, because I could be, I could be a crazy motherfucker, I think that. And you know what? And honestly, it was kind of like a push and pull for us. It was some things that I had to adapt to, and there's some things that he had to adapt to. But I just told him, I think it was just me like telling him, I've been in situations where I may have been like a little bit more afraid. And I think it didn't make the experience fun. Some people ended up don't, but once I really got comfortable with what I liked with sex and stuff like that, I think I was really able to express it more, and we meet halfway, even if if everything couldn't be explored, like at least we met like halfway on it.
Yes. And what does following your, at least, career-wise, Melissa, what does following your pleasure mean for you on that?
Following my pleasure career-wise, I think having like the support to do that.
Mhm.
Or, you know, like because I was just talking to a friend about how we were talking about another couple, and the other couple, like, they don't want their wife to really do much. They kind of want to go that traditional route where they're like, you know, the woman stays at home and he makes enough money where she can do that. And I was like, why don't you want to do that? But, you know, whatever, teach their own. Like, I would love to be you know, a dog mom. But like, I was talking to my friend, like, how I'm just like really happy that I'm in a relationship where I can do that and I can pursue what I want to pursue and have the support to do so, and like not have like someone kind of overbearing and like telling me what to do and telling me I can't do that or it's a bad idea or whatever. Because at the same time, like, if I fail, I need to fail to learn from it, you know. So you can't, like, I don't know, it's kind of like the gold star like participant trophy thing. Sometimes you kind of just need people to like to follow their pleasure, to even know if that's really what they want, and if that's not what they want, at least they were able to do it and learn that that's not what they want. You know what I mean? I don't know if that answers your question career wise, but career's different, you know.
You did, and I know, like, even when it comes to self-actualization and understanding what that means for yourself and what it is, like acknowledging your likes, dislikes, wants, your needs, and all of that, it can be a very tough thing. And I know, like, even for myself, it took isolating myself to understand about what it is that I want in my life and what do I find pleasure doing and what I want my daily routine to look like. And I will also have to add, like, I also had to quit a job to do that. And I was fortunate enough to be in school at the time and decided to take out a loan. We're not going to talk about that, to make sure I could, you know, survive a couple months while I worked through a lot of the things I was going through and focus directly on me in that process to understand what those things I really liked were. And even within that same space, I even looked at pleasures within my sexual life and what I want to engage in more, what I wanted to, what I found enjoyment in, what worked with my former partners, or even just those one-nighters that I've engaged with, what wasn't working, what was the things fueling the disinterest that I've experienced over the years, or what was the things that really made that spark for me, the things that made me want to continue to see this particular person, or even what were those things that sparked interest to date somebody. I needed to sit and actually understand and see what was it that was pleasing from these certain individuals. What was it that inspired me to want to do a little bit more in order for me to, you know, step into that space of following my pleasures. Like, even when it comes to the podcast, I've been wanting to podcast for what, not 10, but like since 2016-ish. And I didn't sit down to actually start drafting up the show until I took that break and started to think about what it was that I found pleasure in doing and finding the things that make me feel happy.
Yeah. I think it's interesting and kind of weird how it's like a lot of people, so I don't know if it's like just our society, but there's that fear of pursuing your pleasure, you know. And so it's that fear of opening up and trying something new or talking to your partner. Like, now we're, you know, we're open and we've, you know, it's been 16 years. Of course, we've tried like a bunch of things at this point. Like, but it took a while to get there, you know. Like, there was a lot of fear. Like, I was scared to talk to him about anything, and I mean, he's always just been open. I don't know if it's just like easier for guys. I don't want to overgeneralize, but like he just like already knew. But I was a little more hesitant, more scared, more like, you know, like, I don't know if I want to say it, or like I was too scared to say it. But once you're like finally expressing yourself and finally like sharing like what you like, it's like very eye-opening and very like exciting and new and fun, and it's just like getting over that hump of fear, you know.
It reminds me of just that fear of the unknown.
Right.
Because there's so much that can go wrong. And I think it's because as a society, we are always fed the wrongness of things. Like, this is the worst that could happen, rather than, oh, what's the greatest outcome? So we get so stuck on fearing the worst outcomes and having these certain conversations that keep us from doing it, and not realizing that there can be a million great things that happen outside of this. And oftentimes, by sharing and having authentic conversations with your partner, your friends, your family, you learn that, we can build a stronger connection because of these conversations. We can figure out mutual interests from having these conversations. And now I'm thinking about older generations, and I'm starting to feel bad for a lot of them. While we're having this chat, because I think about, like, even whenever I go, like, my relationship with my aunt is amazing. Like, we talk about great things. Like, we were in a movie theater one day, and that one queer movie with all these people, they're doing this, I forgot the name of it, but she literally was like, oh my God. She looked to the left and looked to the right, and it's like, oh my God, I'm up in here with gay motherfuckers. I was like, bitch. like having the space of just being joyous and having fun, and like, we can talk about all kinds of different shows with each other, share like conversations about Game of Thrones, and how both of us is like, yeah, we tired of this little incest shit, but at the same time, we cannot turn the fuck away.
Right.
Because yes, we are okay with the cousin fucking, the uncle fucking the niece. I know y'all like, oh my God, Vernon, what the hell you talking about? If you're not watching House of the Dragon, shut up, leave us alone. But like, we could have these conversations. Like, we could have these conversations to build our bond and build our connection and everything like that. And I just hate that other families, other people of older generations sometimes get so stuck in trying to reserve the respectability of things that they refuse to be their authentic self, or even if that authentic self happens to be toxic for another person, I'd rather you just be you, and I can accept you as you, rather than you like hurt yourself every single day trying to put yourself out as being a good person. Look, not everybody's good, okay? Like, you can be a horrible person and have a good spirit, and it is what it is. Look, I mean as hell. I can read you for filth and not give a damn. And like, it's okay. Just be you. You will find somebody that accepts you, who respects you and love you regardless of how toxic, I guess, you may be. But at the end of the day, you still have community. Like, it's okay to just be authentically you. It's okay to do a little bit something different that you haven't explored throughout your life that you always wanted to do. We're here on this earth for a set period of time. You can be your authentic self, and it is okay.
Right. And there should be people out there who like what you like. Like, one of the main things I learned from TikTok and Instagram is that we're not all very unique. Like, right. There's always someone else does that, like someone else likes that. Yeah, there's someone out there. Trust me.
Then you realize I'm pretty normal after all. Okay.
Right. So this brings up a great conversation about how being authentically you is rare these days. How do y'all feel about that?
I can see that.
Especially with social media and especially with TikTok and stuff like that. Everything is about popularity. Everything is about, being an influencer and likes and all of that stuff. Oh my God, I forgot my thought process.
That's authentic.
I'm screaming, right? I'm screaming. I forgot where I was going with it.
You had a good flow.
I know, you were going. I was like, yes.
I was like, I was going somewhere with this.
It's about how it's rare for people being authentically them. You were speaking on social media, and we're back.
Okay, yes. I think it's so easy to want to be seen and heard these days that people just do anything, even go as far as like embarrass themselves and just do dumb stuff, or even hurt themselves and or end up dead because of these trends and all of this other stuff. So I feel like people feel like they're more accepted if they're acting like somebody else or acting like their friends, you know, especially if they're new to a city or they're used to being, you know, the nerdy person. Like that one little taste, you know, is toxic, and it's just, it'll take over. So I feel like people do feel like it's easier, you know, to keep up with the Joneses, and they escape their own realities.
I agree. Did you have something that you want to add on to that, Melissa?
Well, I was just thinking, like, the other day I was telling Brandon that, Brandon's my husband. Like, I'm really glad that we didn't have social media in high school, you know, because like you do one thing on accident, or one thing you didn't realize it was bad or whatever, and you post it, like, it's on blast. It's public, you know, people will ridicule you for it, bully you for it. Like, even just going outside, like, luckily I don't live in like super touristy place, you know, but like if I go to like I was thinking about this when I went to Seattle recently, that like I really hope I don't do something dumb that someone captures on their phone and then posts on social media. You know, it's always that constant fear. And so like you kind of have to, or you don't have to, but I think people tend to put on a persona when they're out in public, just so that, to make sure that they don't, like, you know, get caught on camera and they're like now the new Karen or something, or like or like, you know, get canceled or something like that. Like, it's with this new world, like there's just so much to be scared of.
Right. That cancel culture is serious.
It really is. The mob, my God.
That's the thing. Like, thank you for mentioning that, possibly being a new Karen. And that's the thing that really irks me, because like oftentimes we don't see what happened, what led up to the cameras coming out. And I get sometimes the situation is what it is and what you see on the cameras and whatnot. I get that. Right. But we don't have enough conversations about, okay, what was the lead up to this for real? Because I've seen things on TikTok, Twitter, and sometimes on IG. My IG usually don't have any kind of like drama shit going on, so I don't see too much of that on there. But I've seen videos of teachers like cursing the fuck out of these kids, and on one level I'm just like, okay, that's unprofessional. Why are you doing that? But on the other end, as being somebody who's worked in not necessarily K-12 but higher ed, and having conversations with people who are actually in these schools and what these kids are like these days and who their parents are, who do not give a fuck about really nurturing their children, I can understand why you have teachers cussing people out, because one, they're not.
That's why I'm not a teacher.
Exactly, because I know my mentality. Because what you're not going to do is come into my classroom and think you rule this shit, because I don't care about your education enough. You will get put the fuck out. If you don't like that, well, you need to talk to your motherfucking mama. And I can have your mama or your daddy up here right the fuck now. And we can have this conversation. Does parent want to throw hands because motherfucker?
Right, listen.
I came from the school to pull the fuck up. What are we doing? Like, what we're not going to do is all of this BS, because like, it's so much stuff when it comes to like social media and people just wanting to get that outrage so that they can be they can go viral here, they can go viral there. And I'm just like, what's the purpose of this? Like, you go viral on this one day and you think that's going to be something sustainable? You think that, I did this one thing and I've gotten rewarded for that. A lot of people showed me attention. Now I have to do this multiple times just to get that same reaction. That's unhealthy. That's like,
I
these
guess
people.
He's not getting a job.
You're right. Like, it's so frustrating, like, to see these people who even go out in public and prank other people that they don't even know. Like, I saw that video of this dude who almost got shot. Again, Instagram, why would you show me this shit? But there was this person who was trying to prank somebody, and the person he was pranking pulled out a gun and shot at him. Like,
oh wow.
And I'm like, you thought this was a joke and you actively did this. Like, the thing I need for a lot of people to understand when it comes to doing these not fully thought out things is that there are always consequences for your actions. And sometimes those consequences can be good, and sometimes they can be very dire. You have to weigh those options before you do anything. And don't think just because it's a grandma ain't packing, because grandma may be. And on top of that, you can have conversations with people to let them know that, hey, like, you know, the Flyana boss, their videos, I can tell by how they, I don't think in all spaces, but some of the spaces that they're in, they have conversations with the people before they shoot and run through the city, whatever.
Right.
So people know, like, hey, we're recording, we're going to be coming through your business and doing all these things, but just know we're going to try our best to not disturb what the fuck is going on, because how else are they going to have a free runway throughout all the different areas that they're in? They have the conversations. If you're pranking somebody, you have those conversations, because otherwise you get what you get.
No, but for real.
Oh, I can't stand those prank videos sometimes. I saw the one recently where that guy was going into people's houses and that, just like randomly going into someone's house and sitting on their couch. And I'm like, that's terrifying. To just have a stranger come in and just like, and it clearly was
not in today's society.
Yeah. Oh, and they stole someone's dog, like just stole the dog from some old lady at the park. And I'm like, why would that poor old lady, she's just trying to enjoy her day, take her little dog out, and then you just go and snatch it.
Right.
See, this is that shit. Let somebody be in my apartment and and not paying a bill. Oh my god. Not saying I have a gun in my house, because I don't keep guns, but I do have a weapon, and you're not gonna be happy if I got to use that. Because I believe, I'm not even going to put that on air. Anyways. The alcohol started. Vernon's. Not unannounced. Like, who are you? Oh, you're in my house already.
Right.
Okay.
That's to be more careful.
That's to be more careful. Are you walking out of here? Was that your intentions?
Right.
No, the follow will back up. All right. Back on topic. So we kind of hinted at this earlier on in the conversation, and that was like being your authentic self. As time passes, that you grow as you age and as you get a lot more comfortable with yourself and stop giving a fuck about other people's opinions, you start to become a lot more your authentic self. How was that experience for you all, and around what age did you just decide to just say fuck it to everybody else's opinion? Or if you don't remember your age, what year?
I don't remember the age. I feel like it just happened. You know, like I think for me it was like after college, because at some point, you know, it took me 5 years to finish. So by even by the third year, I was like, okay, I don't care about the parties. I don't care about, you know, making new friends. Like, I just want to get my degree and get out so I can get a better job and stop working at Chipotle and you know, establish my life, you know. So I think it's just a gradual thing of realizing, like, I don't want this phase to keep going, like the young 20s, trying to please people, trying to make a bunch of friends, try to, you know, party and all that stuff. Like, I wanted to figure myself out and figure out what life I want, or like what future I want. I think it just like gradually went from there.
Yeah, I think mine was kind of like a gradual like stop and go type of thing. I know that I'm a naturally giving person, which leads to, of course, like people pleasing, and of course, you know, past trauma experiences. But I think certain situations forced me to be like, enough is enough. And most recently, like, especially going through like a spiritual awakening and stuff like that. And once I figured out like who I was and what I don't want to put up with and stuff like that, like, I really feel like that's when I started to put my foot down and really started to understand, like, all right, I can't, you know, I'm fucking up because now I'm not happy anymore because you're just not getting it. So I definitely say it was definitely more in recent years and wanting to just, you know, be free, live my life. And of course, be the example of for my daughter, because I don't want her to grow up and thinking that that's okay, and then her having the same experiences or feel like her energy is depleted or, you know, feel lost. And then having to later on in life put a pause on life to, like, you know, figure out who she is. So it's like, all right, let me get my shit together so I can show her, like, don't do this. Like, don't go down that route.
I know, like, for myself, I would say it was a gradual process, but I can also pinpoint the year when I just stopped truly giving a fuck. And this is also kind of related to the last topic I want to talk about too, but it was related to just like code switching in general. Like, I tell people all the time, my code switch broke in 2020, and I mean that. And ever since then, I was just like, I'm going to walk in my authentic self and figure out what that means and how that is. Because I remember being much younger, like before college, I was always just Vernon. It is what it is. I accept that Vernon's going to be Vernon, and if you don't like that, that's on you. But after graduating from high school and getting into these new spaces, trying to figure out what my future goals are going to be and all these other things, I allowed a lot more of outside influences to mold who I was, rather than just honoring who I self-defined myself as. And then there was just a point, I think I was 27, I was just like, you know what, I can't do this. This is not me. This is too much for me to hold on to. So I just need to just let that go and just mourn whoever that younger version is. That, I'm sorry, love you, young Vern, you was a real motherfucker, but we have to figure out who Vernon of this age is at this point while still honoring the younger version of me. But like, that was my way of leaning into my own spiritual awakening, and a lot of that just also impacted me professionally too, and what I chose to allow, as well as what I just outright refused to do. So it was just understanding exactly what those things are, redefining my boundaries and what I want for myself going forward.
And you mentioning that remind me of, like, just recently, I think between the months of literally August and January, I've had a situation where I really had to kind of step into who I was. And a lot of it had to do with loyalty and with friendships and stuff like that. Because some of my friends did get into it, and they wanted me to make a decision on who I wanted to talk to. And it was kind of like, you know, I'm a very mutual kind of person. Like, I'll tell you when you're wrong, but I had to get to a point where it's like, all right, I don't want to lose either one of you guys as a friend, or even a situation where I wasn't really friends with the person, but we were just interacting on Twitter because we were talking about the book, The Four Agreements. And she and I had a disagreement, but it wasn't that deep to where it was like, all right, I'm just gonna stop talking to you or whatever. Like, I was mad in the moment, and then it was like over. So my other friends thought, even though like we wasn't hanging out or anything like that, we were just simply like communicating over social media and discussing the book, they were truly upset. And I had to explain to them, like, this person didn't do anything to me. And it's like, you're questioning my loyalty, but I'm telling you, like, this is what it is. And it's kind of like, I really had to really stand in who I was and what I believed in. Like, I understand that you're hurt, but I'm not going to be mad at this person because they didn't do anything to me. And it's like, you know, if you're going to get mad at me, like, you have to understand who I am. And like, I had to redefine what my definition of loyalty truly means. Like, am I just going to stop being cool with this person because these people don't like them? And if I'm risking a friendship with them, like, no, if you fuck with me, then you have to be able to fuck with my values in some sort of way. Even in the workplace, former employment that I won't name any names, they would openly tell me, like, because I was a supervisor, they would openly tell me, like, you know, we give you all the ratchet people because they know that they'll stay with me. All right, cool. And a lot of them, they weren't really ratchet. The younger ones, I was like in the middle. Like, I had older people as a supervisor, and then I had the younger people. And the younger people that I had were like fresh out of high school or college and stuff like that. So I tailored my leadership to fit both groups of people. And my manager didn't like it. However, it made me number one in the call center for a whole year and a half.
You better be able to.
So, right, period. So there was method to my madness, but my boss wanted to, everybody was like, you gotta, you know, corporate America, you gotta play the game. You gotta play the game to fit in. You gotta play the game. And it was like, that's not who I was, but my heart was tugging because it was like, damn, my manager is on my ass because I'm not this way. However, I know my team, and if I act this way, they're not going to perform the way I needed to. At the end of my review, right before she retired, she put in my review, people will not respect you if you keep managing or, you know, having the same leadership skills that you had. And that mentally, it messed me up because unfortunately, you know, the company had big layoff, and I was unfortunately one of the ones that had, you know, got laid off. So that comment mentally messed me up. But it took me recently to realize, like, all right, in her eyes, she didn't respect me because I wasn't doing it the way that she wanted me to do. But I didn't have her respect, but I had the respect of my team members because they still hit me up to this day wanting to hang out and stuff. So it's like, I had to choose to still be me, even though it was hard. And I did battle between giving them what the company wanted and knowing what was best to make sure that my team performed for the company, you know? So I really had to focus in on who I was as a person and who my leadership skills was, and really, really try to stick to that moving forward. And that was like one of the biggest lessons I learned, even in the workplace.
Oh, you touched a hort on that one, because when I tell you, so the last topic is conformity in professional spaces. And no, you already touched it. I'm like, yes. And it's like how that promotes the idea of you becoming less authentically you. And I like, that's the thing that really, like, my first therapist, she's the one that pointed this out to me. She's like, Vernon, you got workplace trauma. Like, the way that you speak to me in terms of like your experiences working with people and what you want for yourself, like, it is clear that you cannot work for anybody, most definitely if it's something corporate related, because the mindset for corporate is something that's outside of your needs and something that's outside of my wants. Therefore, I can't operate as my full self within that, because I have to conform to that corporate mindset. And that corporate mindset is often against what I want for myself. Meaning, I want to be in spaces where we have actual leadership and actual conversations to improve the development of the people in the workforce. And it's not a profit mindset. It's about, We as a team, we can grow together, we can make our numbers, we can do all the great things for the business, make the money and all those great things, but everybody on this team feels respected. And that's something that is outside of the corporate mindset, because if it's not about profits, then bitch, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right.
So
Exactly.
like over the years, I had to tackle the fact that the reason why I was so unhappy in higher education was not because of the work I was doing or the people that I was engaging with. It was because the systems themselves, the school that I was at or the corporate insurance company that I was at, because y'all know who that is now. I say it again, Geico. Because it's always shade to them. In those spaces that their main focus was not on the customers and making sure that they had the knowledge. Like even with Geico, the one thing I actually asked my supervisor, I was like, we have an internet department. Why is it that we cannot just send our customers over to them and they teach them how to use the online web service when we're trying to push them to use the online web service? Don't you think we'll have a lot less calls and spend the money that y'all want to save on calls if we teach people how to use it? And they were like, no, that's not what that department's for. They're only there to help people unlock their damn policies. Like, bitch, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, why are we? Again, it doesn't make sense. So, like, I had to come to the realization that for a person like myself who leads with empathy, who leads with actual leadership and wanting to build the teams, that corporate is just not there for me. Like, people who don't care about thriving in their authentic self, or if their authentic self matches with corporate America, that's the only places for them. If they are okay with just being a part of the crowd, or they like the mission and profit focus, those are the jobs for you. Go into those spaces. But the crazy thing about it is that I don't think corporate America would survive if people actually engaged in their authentic selves.
That's why the retention rate is so high.
Chile. Melissa, you like you want to say something?
No. No, I'm just trying to think how this like applies to me. Conformity in professional spaces. Well, okay. So beginning of this year, I did get promoted to a supervisor role. And I think that's where my authenticity is like being challenged for sure. Right? Because I want to instill my values. Like I am learning from, I'm trying to think back on like old supervisors, what I liked, what I didn't like about them. Because the company that I used to work for, they were all about, it's corporate America. They were all about the money, all about the numbers, every we used to have like all staffs or annual, whatever they're called, where everyone gets together. And it's all about making sure the chart is green. They'll display like the chart, right? And it's like the different criteria, making sure everything's green. That's like the big thing. And we got these 2 new leadership people, which is kind of what drove me to quit. Was like, it was so obvious that they cared more about the numbers than the people. And so for this new supervisor role, I know I'm saying it's new because it still feels new. I want it to be about the people. Like, I think, because the supervisor, if you think about it, like, I don't do the work, right? Like, I have people who do the work, but my role mostly is more like the decision maker, kind of like the mediator, balancing people's workloads and their schedules and whatever. And so it's very people centric and very people focused. And so my authenticity is being challenged because I want my people to thrive, to take the days off that they need to take off or want to take off, have a great work-life balance, but also we need to we need to make our deadlines, right? We need to be on schedule, on budget, within the scope that's given to us. And so to balance that out is very difficult and very stressful, but I'm trying as hard as possible to not lessen or belittle my own values and trying to instill that to people. But It's hard. It's rough.
Yeah, it's a balance, but at the end of the day, you are
Mhm.
given leadership, and that's that's important. And we might as well acknowledge that that is how you become a strong leader. That you think about your team, you think about ensuring
Mhm.
that they have a work-life balance. Because, like, even when I was a supervisor for that brief and wonderful time, that's one of the things that I wanted to maintain. Most definitely, since I was working with students, and I told them from day one, you are students first. I don't give a damn what the hell
Mhm.
residence life has to say about anything. I'm here to advocate for you all and ensure that you have time to study, because what y'all are going to do, if you're going to be on my staff, you're going to graduate. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
You are going to graduate. And one of the things that I made sure I did, most definitely came to that second semester for them, I told them, we're going to have a system where if you need to be off, just let us know in advance, because a lot of them are last minute, and let's be real, some of them was going on some Greek stuff in the spring semester. But it's like, whatever y'all got planned this semester, we just need to make sure we have coverage. And one of the things I ensured was like, hey, I know since y'all are students, I don't know when your classes are going to come up and your exams are going to come up, but I want y'all to at least have a week off and a week on the schedule. And the way that we're going to do this, you're going to have 4-hour blocks. They only have an 8-hour shift until the night. The night people, which usually was like police officers, they come on duty to secure the area. So you get your 4 hours here, 4 hours there, and at the end of the month or the end of the week, you got your full 20 hours. Everything's great. Everybody was good with it, and it worked in a phenomenal way. And the greatest thing about it is that they started to communicate with each other a lot more. They were like, hey, I know that, because they had partner days and partner time frames. So they knew, oh, I'm going to be having to study on this day. Do you mind working my Monday shift and I'll work your Monday shift this week? Like, it built a lot more camaraderie between them. They communicated a lot more. They supported each other more. They made sure that they stepped in whenever somebody else needed somebody. Like, that's leadership. And that's something that is actually frowned upon when it comes to corporate America, because how dare you give these people a full week off of work
Right.
when they need to be here every fucking week? No, allow them the time that they need to still be successful. They are getting the hours that they need for the entire month. No one's falling behind on that. So we're meeting the needs of what they're contracted to. It's all good.
That was the same thing with us in our setting. We had something called like OCC, which was like time off the phone. Now my team, we had the highest call rates. They were making, their calls and stuff like that. But we had the worst OCC, and me and my boss would always go back and forth. But to me, it's like, number one, I'm not gonna get mad because you're meeting your goals, you're meeting your stats. My boss needed to trust that if I seen that your stats was not where it needed to be, you weren't getting up out of your seat. If you're performing for me, I'm going to be more lenient. I'm going to expect you. And she hated my team was always off the phone, but you also always made my team the tutors and stuff like that, because they knew what they were doing. So it's like, if my team can share the knowledge to help somebody else on another team get their stats up, then what's the problem? You know what I mean? Like, you're still making productivity, you're still getting the call, you're still making the money. They may be off the phones more, but they're still performing the way they need to. Now you're overexerting your workers, and now they don't want to work. They're making the money, but they don't want to work now because they're tired, and you're being a hard ass for no reason.
Yeah. I think people forget that people are still people.
Right.
We're not machines. And like, I made this comment once. What did I say? Someone like thought it was super profound for some reason. But I said, like, even machines need to get oiled,
Okay, that low key, honestly. That is a word.
But it's true, everyone and everything needs a break. And if you don't take care, just like if you don't take care of your machines, your computers, same thing with people. If you don't take care of your people, they're either gonna quit or they're gonna, like, I don't know, produce
Right.
terrible work.
Right.
And I will say the only jobs I really I quit all my jobs to be real. But the jobs that I quit that I wanted to be long-term options, the only reason why I quit those is because they didn't value me, or micromanaging is always that thing too, because fuck that. We cannot. Biggest. So it's like, if I'm showing up for you on a regular basis and you fail to show up for me, look, I'm sorry, I don't do abusive relationships. I don't accept being gaslit by the person who's paying my check. I'm making you money, so you're helping me make my money. That's the plan here. As you continue to grow and I continue to make my money on the behalf of your company, that's all that needs to be said. That's all that matters. But as soon as you come to a point where you act like I'm not that motherfucker, we got a problem.
Period.
Because what we're not going to do is act as though I'm not adding value to this, regardless of what my metrics say. But let's go back to my Geico days. These motherfuckers started an entire different way in which they approach conversations on their calls because of this motherfucker here. But they didn't.
Hello. I can relate to that. Hello.
So, like, let's be real. You knew the value while I was there. But you had issues when it came to other things, like most definitely when it came to promotions. So come on, corporate America is just not for me.
And listen, I learned the hard way.
Right. So I would say we're at the end of the episode. Now, I do want to answer one little question, because I feel as though somebody may be out there and they're asking themselves, Vernon, it's Heauxvember. This was not like a sex-based conversation. Why are you talking about being your authentic self and all these other things? Like, how does this combo relate to Heauxvember? And the answer to that, for anybody who may feel that way, is in order for you to express yourself sexually in an authentic way, you also have to understand your authentic self. Yeah, this conversation is not all about the funny things all about sexuality, but still, you have to know exactly who you are to fully understand your own sexuality, to understand how you want to express your sexuality. So take that how you will. But before I close out, again, thank you so much, Melissa and Nini, for coming onto the podcast. Do either of you have any last words that you want to share with the audience before I close this out?
Just always be you, whether it's sexually, business-wise, professionally, or within your family. Just always work to feel comfortable in your skin and being who you are.
Melissa?
I would say on top of that to also embrace the fear, because you know, we talked about that earlier. You don't know what you don't know, and to be your authentic self, you also need to try things that maybe you're too scared to do, but at least you'll know whether that's really part of who you are, or if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And at least you have concrete evidence that it doesn't work. So embrace the fear. Do it.
Exactly. And even though this might be an inappropriate reference, also don't try to do things that may not lead you to anything that might be life-threatening, meaning don't go deep in the ocean in the paper plane. So anyways,
embrace the fear within a certain parameter. Still be safe and smart about it.
Please be safe and smart in the things that you choose to do in your life, because look, our lives are worth living, and anybody who tells you otherwise, they just hate themselves, and that's their problem that they need to deal with. I love you, and I want you to be here, and I want you to enjoy your experience on this plane, so please do so. Come on, make that promise to yourself, and accept the promise to Vernon. Come on, live your life authentically and be free and be happy. So on that note, thank you all so much for listening to the Ho'Liloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. And just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful, you are worthy of happiness and joy, you are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, love you all and see you next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Ho'Liloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.ho'liloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.